what is this sheet called? This sheet is called Prequest.
Yeah. 4-1 to 4-5.
And we are working on problem number 3. So, the picture that's been drawn for me is this one. I'm doing this without a calculator. So, you got a couple of choices. If you can remember your 30, 60, 90 ratios, you did problems like this in geometry, you could just do it. In our work that we've been doing, we've been writing an equation for this situation using either sine, cosine, or tangent. So, Mr. Lockhart, where's your lanyard?
No, I didn't have it on.
Must be a family problem. I think I busted your brother earlier today.
Really?
No.
Oh, not your favorite student. Oh my, that hurts, that hurts, that hurts, that hurts. Oh, I gotta cut.
Where's your ID?
Oh, I
Oh.
Okay, you need to get that fixed, huh?
Yeah.
Right?
I got one this morning. See, I didn't have one.
You got yours
Yeah.
fixed. Good
Just
for
give him
you.
that, you don't need that, just give him the pin.
No, it's not.
She saw it.
This is broken. You're
I have no idea.
He just
I
this morning. This morning.
If you're
But not
gonna use
quite.
this angle, guys, if you're gonna use this angle, you have an allergy or something or what?
Can I not just put it on my desk?
You're supposed to wear it.
Mm.
Does it bother you?
Dress code. That's already.
Well,
Can I
put it
not just
under
put it on
your
my desk?
hood then, so it's not touching your skin.
No, that's on my desk, where's your dress code?
This is sine, cosine, or tangent if I'm using that angle.
Coast.
Gonna be cosine, because this side is adjacent, and this side is
Hypotenuse.
hypotenuse. So cosine 30 equals 6 over x, right? X cosine 30 equals 6. So x equals 6 over cosine 30. If I were allowed to use a calculator, I'd whip it out and type in 6 divided by cosine 30. Luckily, can I find that without a calculator?
Yes,
The
you
cosine of 30, I sure can. Here's my 30-degree angle.
I'm gonna space.
I know, sorry about that. Use that space on the other side there. So 1 root 3, 2, everything's positive. And what's the cosine?
Root 3 over 2.
Root 3 over 2.
So 6
So I'm gonna have 6
over root 3.
divided by root 3 over 2,
And then time, just flip it. Time.
which is 6 times 2 over root 3.
So 12 root 3 over 3.
12 over root 3, which is 12 root 3 over 3. This problem just
4
keeps
root 3.
going,
And then 4
which is 4 root 3. So the answer to the question after all that
God.
is 4 root 3. All right, so let's back up and make sure everybody stayed with us. First of all, do you understand your equation?
Or-
Cosine, adjacent, or about that angle, adjacent hypotenuse. So multiply by x divided by cosine. So here's our answer. Now we just have to figure out, okay, what's the cosine of 30? So over to the side, right here, I drew my 30-degree angle, labeled my sides. Cosine is root 3 over 2. So I had 6 divided by root 3 over 2, which is 6 times 2 over root 3, which is 12 over root 3, which is 12 root 3 over 3, which is 4 root 3. So the answer is 4 root 3. Okay? Joe, put your ID away. Pay attention.
Turning the fraction.
All right. Tangent 300. Tangent 300. Let's draw 300, keeping in mind, these are our labels. So 300 would be here.
That's 30, 60.
So here we go. That is not 30.
That's 60.
That
That's 60,
angle
yeah,
is
60.
60.
What'd you say?
Now, you
That's
guys,
a 30, 60
that's
degree triangle.
important, because if you miss that angle, you're probably gonna screw up the sides, and therefore your answer's gonna be wrong.
Yeah.
Get that angle right. 300 to 360, that's a 60, okay? So this is root 3, this is 1, this is 2. Watch out for negatives.
Negative root 3?
Negative root 3, down. We want tangent.
3 over 1.
Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So the answer is negative root 3.
Not word, team.
I heard somebody say, wait, why? What was the question?
Dana.
Dana?
Well, I didn't say nothing.
Oh,
Jaden had
I
it.
did.
Why would I be asking a question?
Exactly, he has 103 in the question. Oh,
Actually, 106.7.
Asking questions isn't a bad thing.
It is when you don't need it.
alright.
Clock it.
So here's the scenario.
I did.
S stands for arc length. So
Right,
S
put all
is this
that.
right here. Okay? We know the radius is 6. And we know the arc length is 10.
Yeah, I just can't hold.
And we want to find the measure of the central angle. All right? Who has any recollection of this?
10 equals 6 arcs.
Arc
Whoa.
length
He might.
equals radius
He might.
times radians. So arc length is 6,
Oh, shoot.
or
shoot.
arc length is 10.
Yeah.
Radius is 6. And I don't know what that is. I'll call
Oh, so
I'll call it theta. Okay? So what's theta? 10 over 6, which is 5 over 3.
Bang.
Now, that is a radian measure. That doesn't mean you just arbitrarily stick a pi in it. There's no pi in this problem. The answer is 5 over 3. Okay, that's 5 over 3 radians. That's a radian measure. 5 over 3. What are the period and amplitude of this thing? Now, I realize that the question only asks for period and amplitude, but I want to go ahead and sketch it because you will eventually be responsible for being able to sketch something like this. So, here I go. I know that a sine curve is supposed to look like that, but it's been flipped upside down and it has been shifted pi over 8 to the right. So it's an upside down sine curve that starts at pi over 8. So this is how I am beginning the problem. Does that make sense to everyone?
Wait, it's flipped because the negative's in front?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's what negatives do.
Sine, so it's 2 pi.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey.
All right, now, the normal, I need to figure out where I'm in. The normal period of a sine is 2 pi. But this one has been divided by 4. So the period is actually pi over 2. Pi over 2?
Yep.
That means that from here to here is 4/8. Now, why am I thinking about it as 4/8? Because I need to add, start at pi over 8 and add pi over 2. So what is an 1/8 plus a half? Well, it's an 1/8 plus 4/8, so this would be 5/8.
Could you keep it as?
Well, for your period, yeah, but I need to find this number. So I'm gonna have to have a common denominator to get that number. All right, so the period is pi pi over 2. That's done. That's the period.
Would the middle one be 3 pi
The
over 8?
middle one would be 3 pi over 8, because right in the middle of 1 and 5 is 3. 1 plus 5 is 6, divided by 2 is 3. There we go. What's right in the middle of 1 and 3?
2 pi.
2 pi over 8. Now you can reduce that if you wish, or leave it. And then in the middle of 3 and 5 would be 4 pi over 8, which again, you can reduce it if you wish.
Yep.
These labels are 3 and negative 3, and that is my amplitude. So my amplitude is 3. So the original problem just asked for amplitude and period. There it is. I went ahead and did the whole sketch. There it is. Ronan?
There was a +1 on the end of like that.
That whole picture, it's lifted
Yeah,
up
would
one.
that change the amplitude at all?
No,
No.
no. The height won't change. The height's gonna be 3. It would make the top point now at 4 and the bottom point at negative 2, but the height of the waves is still gonna be 3. Good? Alright, number 7. Name a negative coterminal angle for negative 48 degrees. A negative coterminal
So you
angle.
have to subtract it by 360.
Exactly. How do we do coterminal? We add or subtract 360. So what is
Negative
it?
408.
Negative 48 minus 360 will be negative
408.
408 degrees. What would be, that's what it asked for, a negative, but what would be a positive? That would be negative 48 plus 360, which would be 312 degrees. What if the original angle were in radians?
You add
So what if your original angle was, I don't know, pi over 7?
you add 2 pi.
Add 2 pi would give you a positive 1, Jake. You alright? This isn't the time to chill, dude. We gotta not be chilling. So 14, that would be 15 sevenths.
So you're just adding like a sign.
And the negative would be negative 13 pi over 7, because that's 14 sevenths, right?
Yeah.
How do you find coterminal angles? You add a revolution, you subtract a revolution. If you're in degrees, you're adding and subtracting 360. If you're in radians, you're adding and subtracting 2 pi, right? Okay. Tan theta. So we've got a picture. And we want to know the tangent. Okay, what's tangent? Opposite over adjacent. So isn't this opposite and this is adjacent for this picture? So if I'm going to answer the question, I need to figure that out. Right?
Yeah.
So 5 squared plus x squared is 7 squared. Remember, when you do Pythagorean theorem, the hypotenuse is C. So 25 plus x squared is 49, x squared is 24. So this is going to be the square root of 24, which actually simplifies to something.
2 root 6.
2 root 6. So I wanted tangent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, 2 root 6 over 5.
Yep. And then what's this next one?
Alright, good. The next one says, find the sine of 5,000. No calculator. You don't have to find it, you just have to tell me is the sine of 5,000 positive, negative,
0
or undefined. So let's talk about 5,000. If you were going to draw 5,000 degrees, what would that look like?
We go around.
Round and around and around. So basically, it's gonna go around a lot of times. I'm gonna figure out how many times it's gonna go around. Okay, so 360 goes in there once.
Are we allowed to use the calculator? It has to be 3.
You have a baby calculator.
Oh.
I think that's 3, so that's 1080. So how's that look? Does that look all right? Like, did I do that right? I think I did.
It's like 13.8 around there.
Okay, so it goes around 13 whole times and has 320 left to go.
Yep.
So think of it spinning around 13 times, and then it has 320 to go. So won't it be over here in this quadrant between 270 and 360?
13.
Now,
It'd be negative.
this is positive, this is negative, and that's positive. Remember, the hypotenuse of the radius is always positive. So I want the sign. Sine will be opposite over hypotenuse, so sine will be negative. So right now on your calculator, type in sine 5,000, I'm assuming you're in degrees, and we don't care what it is, but is it negative?
Yeah.
And we just figure out why. All right, cotan pi over 2. What's pi over 2?
90.
We're doing cotan 90. So 90 is right here.
Yeah.
It's a
See, it's a
circle.
You
circle.
gotta do a circle because I can't make a triangle. So in the unit circle where the radius is 1, what is that point?
Y.
0, 1,
0, 1. So x is 0 and y is
1.
1.
And then cotangent.
I want cotangent,
X over Y.
which is x over y. So that will be 0 over 1, which is 0. These are the kinds that can be undefined. This one's not, but if it had been 1 over 0, that would be undefined. So these ones can be undefined. If you're drawing a triangle, you won't get undefined. This is where they come from. They come from the circle. Draw a course of 301 degrees. So 301 degrees. Now, this is where you have to have been paying attention. If I am doing a course, then I am using a compass. And when I use a compass, I label differently than normal. This is my normal. 0, 90, 180, 270. That's my normal. If I'm using a compass, how is it labeled?
0.
0 up here, 90, 180, 270. Do not get confused. The only time you do that is when it is a course, a compass, a direction. So where is 301? Well, it will be all the way around to here. So we'll label this 301 degrees, and that's exactly what you would show on your paper. All right, now I am in quadrant 4, so I'm going to draw my butterfly bow tie in quadrant 4. I know the cosine is 2/3. Why did I do that? Why did I put the 2 and the 3 there? Because cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So now if I'm gonna find all the rest of them, sine and all that, I'm gonna need that missing side. So how am I gonna find that missing side? Sine, cosine is 2/3. find all these things. I'm gonna need that,
Yep, it's root 5.
and how am I gonna find that? Pythagorean theorem. Done correctly. So tell me what it is if I do it correctly,
Root
but
5.
what will it be?
Root 5.
Root 5. Actually, it'll be negative root 5. Did
Well,
you
yeah.
catch that negative? Because it's in quadrant 4. Are you okay? Alright. Ready to fill everything in? Here we go. What's the sign?
Negative 5 over root 3. You know, over 3.
Negative root
Root
5
5
over 3?
Yeah.
How about the tangent?
Negative root 5 over 2.
Alright, everybody good to that point? Because the rest of it is just reciprocals. So cosecant will be 3 over negative root 5. Secant will be 3/2, and that one I actually could have done right off the bat. And cotangent. How does that look to everybody? Does that look all right? All right, I have another review that we'll do, but first we want to finish our notes. There are a couple of things in our notes. One more thing in our notes to finish, so I want to do that. On page 46 of the notes. We are gonna have our big quiz. This will be a quest. 4-1 to 4-5. Not in our next class, but in the one after that. So what will that be? Thursday? Thursday? Okay. All right. So we have one more review sheet for us to do. One more. We'll start it today if we have time, finish it tomorrow, or next time.
My nose is back there.
But we've been doing some review every day, so it's time for us to get in gear.
Wait, so it's worth a quiz, but it's the length of the test or the application?
No, it's a quest, so it'll be bigger than, like, it'll be bigger than a quiz, smaller than a test. Won't take all period, but it'll be worth, like, I have it in as 75 right now. It's not gonna be 75 points, it might be 50. You will get a you don't get your green sheet. You will get a small sheet of paper like this. And next time I'll tell you exactly what's on it. But what's on it is the definitions. So sine is y over r, for example, those definitions. And then the special rate triangle.
That's all I need.
All right, here we go. Solve with a calculator. Secant x equals 2, and we are solving between 0 and 2 pi. Now, what this means is we're not doing coterminal angles. We're only going once around, and we're going to answer in radians. So you are finding an angle, but you're not going to say 45 degrees. You're going to say pi over 4 radians. All right, we're going to answer in radians. So here's my recommendation to you. I don't think in terms of secants. If the secant is 2, then the cosine is 1/2. That's how I think. It's just like the problem I just erased. If the cosine is 1/2, the secant is 2, right? And vice versa. Now, that's a positive number. I'm going to go ahead and draw it in quadrant 1. Cosine is 1/2. That makes this root 3. That makes this angle how big? Go ahead in degrees. How big is that? 60. That's a 60. Because it's across from the root 3.
Yep.
But I can't answer in degrees, so I have to stop and think. 60 is what fraction of 180? It's a third. So that angle is pi over 3. 180 divided by 3. Now that seemed really easy. Here's the kicker. There's another answer. So think about this for a second.
Oh, is it from left?
What other quadrant?
Quadrant two.
No.
Oh, no.
Because I need adjacent to be positive. So
Oh,
if
so
I
it's
do
down,
it
quadrant
right down,
over
right,
here,
quadrant
you're gonna adjacent
No,
to
yeah,
negative.
quadrant four.
Wait, yeah,
Quadrant
wait.
Now, does everybody understand why the other answer is gonna be in quadrant 4?
Yeah.
I need adjacent to be positive.
We did this for every other.
Now, yeah, we've done something like this before. We answered in degrees mostly. But this is still a 60. Right? But the actual answer isn't 60. The actual answer is 300. Okay, now that's got to be converted to radians. So you can do this a couple different ways. You already told me that 60 is 1/3 pi. Isn't this 5 60s? So that would be 5 pi over 3. So that's one option. The other option is pi is to 180, as something is to 300, and working it out like this meat and potatoes here.
We have to give
This
both.
is kind of, and you have to get both. You have to get both. All right, B. Cotangent is negative root 3. Well, again, I don't do cotangents. So if that's negative root 3 over 1, the tangent is negative 1 over root 3. So I need to draw a picture where opposite and adjacent are 1 and root 3, and one of them's negative. So if one of them has to be negative, couldn't I be here or here?
Yeah,
So there's gonna be my two answers. These problems have two answers
every time.
every time. So tangent is 1 over root 3. So in this quadrant, it would be the root 3 that's negative. How big is that angle? That angle right there, how big is it? Look at that triangle. That's a 30, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I can't use 30. I have to use 30.
40.
30 is what fraction?
Wait, pi over 9. Wait,
Pi
pi over
over
6.
six.
Pi
Pi
over
over
6.
6. So this angle's pi over 6. And so is this one. They're always the same. Now, what are the actual answers?
240.
One answer is this.
150.
Well, the degrees would be 150. But listen, if this is a sixth, how much is this got to be?
5 pi over
5 6. Remember, guys, isn't this a whole pi over here?
Oh.
That's one whole. If that's 1/6, the rest of it has to be 5 6.
That's 2 pi.
This is 2 pi or 12 6.
11.
So this angle has to be 11 pi over 6.
Yes.
Now again, I am hopeful that that kind of makes sense to you, but if it doesn't, do the problem in degrees and then change them into radians. That takes longer, but it will always work. All right, so what are my two answers? My two answers are 5 pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6. All right, one more. Tangent equals 1.
Quadrant 1 and quadrant 3.
So tangent equals 1 means 1 over 1. So that could be certainly in quadrant 1. How big's the angle?
45.
45, which is pi over 4.
maybe in quadrant 3.
But it could also be in quadrant 3 where they're both negative, but that angle would still be pi over 4. The reference angle, this little guy right here, never changes within the problem. So, one answer is right here. That is one of your answers. So pi over 4.
And 5 pi over 4.
The other one is all the way around to here, which would be pi, that's 1, plus a fourth?
Yep.
So that would be 500. Get your calculators out. Those problems were doable without a calculator because every picture that I drew was special. 30, 60, 45. Now I've got random wacky numbers, so it's not going to be special, so I'm gonna need my calculator. So, let's start with, where will the tangent be a positive number?
Quadrant 1.
So where is
Or
tan?
quadrant 3. 1 or 3.
In 1 or 3, we just talked about that, right? We just talked about it over here. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
So whatever answers I get, they're gonna be quadrant 1 and quadrant 3 angles. Now, I have no idea how big this angle is because opposite is 1.75 and adjacent is 1. I don't know that.
That's wacky.
So I'm gonna go to my calculator, I'm gonna go to mode and set it in radians because I'm supposed to be answering in radians. This is Florida, it doesn't say radians. Yes, it does. It says 0 to 2 pi. That's radians. 0 to 360 would be degrees. Okay? Now, I'm in radians. Okay? Now, second tangent, 1.75. That's how we find angles. So second tangent, 1.75, and I get 1.05. Is that what you got?
Yeah.
So these angles right here, both of them are the same, they're 1.05. In quadrant 1, this is your answer. So one of your answers is 1.05. Now, I gotta get my second answer. So notice, I'm starting here and going all the way around till I hit my diagonal line. How much is this? Pi. So how am I gonna find this? I'm gonna take 1.05 and add pi. And pi is right there on my calculator, right there, second pi. So plus second pi, and my red angle is 4.19.
That's radians.
That's radians. How do I know it's radians? Because I have my calculator in radian mode. All right, next. Cosecant is 7/3. Well, we have double trouble here. The first trouble we have is Mrs. Ford doesn't think very well on cosecants. And the second problem is I don't have a cosecant button on my calculator. So if the cosecant is 7/3, the sine must be 3/7. So I will ultimately be typing on my calculator second sine 3/7. But be careful. How many answers does the problem have? 2, and the calculator's only gonna give you 1. So, let's figure out where these 2 answers are. Where is the sign positive? It's positive in quadrant
Or 2. 1 or 2.
1 or 2. Now, before we go any farther, everything's positive in 1. Why is the sign also positive in 2? Because opposite over hypotenuse is positive. Opposite has to be positive. Righto? Alright, so what did you get when you did second sine
1.3.
3 divided by 7? What?
1.38.
0.44.
This angle is 0.44.
Hey, what'd you do?
second sine 3/7 should be 0.44. Now that means, okay, so this answer right here is 0.44. Okay? Now, we need the other one,
Pi minus 1.
which is all the way over to here. Now, this is also 0.44. Remember, those angles are the same. So think about this. How are you going to figure out the green angle?
So you're
Pi
gonna do
minus
0.8
0.4.
minus.
You're
pi-
going to do pi
Pi minus
minus 0.44.
I thought it's 0.8 because it's 2. I'm confused. Wait, is pi's half of the graph? Yeah, like half of like quadrant
This is
1
pi.
Yeah. Well,
So all the way around to be pi.
yeah.
We're not going 0.44.
Oh, okay.
So it's pi minus 0.44, so
Yeah,
2.70. So the other answer is 2.70. Now, kids always try to memorize this crap, and we end up with all kinds of confusion. They say, well, how do I know if I add or subtract? Kids, if you're in this quadrant,
Adding.
you're going to pi plus some. If you're in this quadrant, you're not getting the pi. So you're backing up from pi. This is pi minus. Okay, one more. Again, I do not think in terms of secants. So I am going to think of this problem as the cosine is negative 2/3. That's how I'm going to think of this problem. Now, where is the cosine? That's adjacent. Remember adjacent. Where is the cosine in my butterfly bow tie? Where will the adjacent be negative?
2 and 3.
Right here. Would everybody agree with that? So this is negative 2, and that's 3. Now, you don't need to label the other one because these two angles are always going to match. That's up to you. This is where my two answers are going to be. So, I could find this side over here, but I really need the angle. So I'm going to go to my calculator, and I'm going to carefully listen to what I'm typing. Second cosine 2 divided by 3. This is for, it's negative. When I drew my picture, didn't I take care of that? I need that angle right there. So I am going to pretend it's in quadrant 1. I'm finding that angle right there. That's the angle I'm finding. So I got 0.84. Did you get 0.84?
Yeah.
So now I'm going to figure out that angle, green angle, and this angle, brown angle.
Archer and
Pi minus.
How am I
minus
going to get
0.84.
green?
Pi minus.
Pi minus 0.84. So green is going to be pi minus 0.84, which is 2.30.
And then you're gonna do pi plus 0.8.
And then brown is going to be pi plus 0.84, which is 3.98. Now, if you type in second cosine negative 2/3, second cosine negative 2/3, it gives you 2.30. It gives you the green angle. What's the problem with that? Then I can't find my brown angle. So leave the negative off when you type it in, because you're going to put it in the right quadrant, and then add and subtract pi to get your answer. Okay? All right, so that completes those notes. So that homework is due on Wednesday. Let me get my other review sheet here.
Not like the living campus.
Actually, this isn't another, this is makeup quiz I gave
Okay, you're not gonna get
a long time ago. Yeah, it was a makeup. People who,
You guys are gonna do long distance.
Stop complaining. Get this work. Only this one. Only this one.
I saw you. I was like, yeah.
Six.
Let's look for me. You're not gonna get close.
all right.
Yeah, you're not gonna get You're not.
Number one, let's get through as much of this as we can. We'll finish it up next time. And I'll dig back through my folder and see if I have any other things to do. But let's look at problem number one. So I have a sector. I don't know if you've noticed, but we've learned a lot of stuff this semester so far,
Yeah.
right? And not every review sheet's gonna have everything on it. So this is something that wasn't on the other one, but it's potential, it's something you've learned. That's a 150-degree angle, and that's a radius of 7. Now, if the question said, find the arc length, then I would have to change this into radians and do whatever that is times 7, and that would be my arc length. But this doesn't say arc length. It says find the area of the shaded. So this guy right here, can you tell me what the area of the whole circle is? What's the area of the whole circle?
14 pi.
Area.
Oh, pi r squared, 49 pi.
So 49 pi would be the whole thing,
What did you say?
right? Are you listening? So what if I did this? And said, okay, what's the area of that sector?
24.5.
That would be half, right? Why would it be half? Because this angle is 180, and 180 is half. Well, wait, what fraction of the whole circle is that? Isn't it 150 over 360?
Whoa.
What is that?
Oh.
The stink bug.
Is it one of those things?
Yeah, the stink bug.
Can we kill it?
Likes it on there.
I'm just trying to get the like. I think he likes it. Smash it. Put it on there.
Do that. You can see calls.
Yeah, now it's in your folder. Now you're done up the folder.
Step on it. You know what I'll do.
Do you know where it is? Oh, there it is.
Kill it.
Well, it's gonna smell.
No, it doesn't actually smell.
Yeah.
I've never.
You've never.
Yeah, that just took me so off track.
Picked up a dead one.
No, this got me so off track.
That's why they're named stink bugs.
Okay. The Great White Hunter's done the job. Now we gotta finish the problem. So, the whole circle would be 360 out of 360. Half the circle would be 180 out of 360. We have 150 out of 360, which is 5/12 of the circle, right? So we want to know what the area of 5/12 of the circle is. So we're going to take 5/12 times 49 pi. And that's going to be 245 pi over 12.
Can we reduce that?
No, because this is 5, 7, and 7, and that's 12. So what was our strategy there?
Getting 152 fractions.
Find the area of the whole thing, and then figure out what fraction is colored. And the fraction that's colored is 150 over 360. We're on number 1 still. If this were an arc length problem though, which was on the last practice, then we would remember that arc length is radius times radians. Our radius is 7. And then we would change 150 into radians. Right? I have to know it's 5 pi over 6. So I would take 7 times 5 pi over 6. That would be for arc length. Alright, one more. Oh, speaking of which, find the arc length.
Oh, wait.
What a coincidence.
Oh, so somebody get this guy out of here.
Yeah, bro, who are you? What are you saying?
Airball.
So here we go. I need radius, which is 4,
I love how Joe, when he gets proven wrong,
times
he loves-
radians.
5 pi over 6.
So pi is to 180, as something is to 50.
5 over 18. 5 pi.
So 50 pi over 180, it looks like 5 pi over 18. Now that one will reduce things
Yeah.
to 10 pi over 9. Now I did that quickly because I was rushing. Does anyone have a question? Arc length, radius times radians. I didn't know the radian measure, so I changed it. Got 5 pi over 18, multiplied by my radius, and got my answer. So this is my final answer. So we'll stop there. Remembering that we have prayer. You did.
Give me 4 pi.
Quiet. We're praying.
In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Hail the cross.
My note.
With her leading,
We shall
Our Lady of the Hill.
pray for us.
In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
All right. Rush out. God knows you were going to spend an extra 2 seconds in here. Rush out. Flee, flee.